time of year because people really start to think about gift giving and what can they give. And I grew up in such a book family. And as a kid, there was nothing like cracking open a new book, and especially those with incredible illustrations. I found one that fits the bill. As a kid, I would have completely loved this book as I love it as an adult. It's called An Adventure Awaits, and it's by Kathleen Geiger, and you can get it on Amazon.com. She joins us now. She's in our virtual green room. Thanks so much, Kathleen, for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. I love it.
So let's talk about what was it that, first of all, drove you into deciding, hey, I'm going to start to write children's books. What was that?
Well, I always had this kind of inspiration to do it, and I just always put it on the back burner. And once I retired and had granddaughters, or grandchildren, I should say, I decided I'd start writing books for them. And with that, then somebody suggested I try to publish it. So that's what I did.
So what's interesting is you and I talked off the air, and picture this, everybody. So you have these grandkids, and everybody knows you adore your kids and your grands and all that. But you actually looked at characters and worked characters around them. Wow. So explain how you came up with that idea.
Well, we had a granddaughter who was probably like 2, 3 at the time, and she was visiting our farm, and she enjoyed watching the little kittens coming out and playing. And so I kind of spun it off as that. And since I had 2 other granddaughters at the time, I asked them, too, what they'd like to be. So the one that had the kittens decided to be a kitten, and her favorite color was purple, so I chose purple for her. And then I asked the other 2 what they wanted to be, and one wanted to be a bunny, a blue bunny. Grandma forgot to say farm animals, so that's how we got a pink giraffe. Melissa's a pink giraffe. And then with this book, The Adventure Awaits, I had 2 new granddaughters. So I decided to put them in the book, and 2 of the other granddaughters wanted their brother in it. So he became Johnny Elephant, and then we have Kathiana, the calf, and Mia, the puppy. And she's blue, and the calf is multicolored, but the elephant's just the usual gray.
Wow, so the whole farm thing is so fascinating to me, and we got to back up for a second because that's got to be, actually, it has to be inspiring to write because of the scenery you see. What's the best part about being on a farm or having lived on a farm? What's the best part about that?
I always grew up on a farm, and then when I married a farmer, so I'm back on the farm. I just enjoy the openness of it, the different, with being here in Illinois, the different seasons. But just taking the adventure of it, I know the difficulties with farming, I try to bring that into the stories too, somewhat, or will be. And then just enjoying being in the openness, seeing the different animals that come around. They're not necessarily always farm animals, and maybe some that you don't want, but I enjoy that.
I like that. There might be some that you don't want. My mind is really churning on that one. You were, because I probably have some of those animals in my own backyard too.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you were
in the next book. That's one of them. One of the animals that we really don't care about having around comes into the picture. So, but I won't let that out.
All right, so everybody's just going to have to guess. I'm thinking rats, maybe. I don't know. Maybe bigger. I have an idea. You've got to tell me off the air. So you were, I promise I keep good secrets. You were a third grade teacher, and so you certainly speak the language of children. And is it gratifying because you have the grandkids, but more than that, I mean, you have a master's in education, and this is what you've done. Is it gratifying to translate their language into a book and think like a child?
It is. I always enjoyed teaching. I enjoy the children. I should say kids, maybe, but I enjoyed them, and you learn a lot through just kind of sitting back sometimes and watching them and how they interact and how they come about in solving problems. And, of course, then how feelings get hurt and that. So that's kind of the lessons I try to teach through these books is about acceptance and how to solve problems and work together.
Yeah, so the plots are pretty interesting. And we're talking about An Adventure Awaits, this particular book with Kathleen Geiger. So tell us about this book. Give us some more specifics on what happens here.
Well, we have these 3 original animals that come, and they decide they want to adventure out one night into the fields And so they do, and they come across this hole, and they look down into it, and all at once they're zapped. They're made miniature, and they zap down through the hole. And there they meet these other animals, and they're in they've been abandoned and left alone. And so that's how we have the elephant. And then he wants to come with them, but he doesn't want to leave these other two, the puppy and the little calf, behind, because he wants to watch over them and take care of them. So then they're able to be brought back to the farm, and then naturally Farmer Beau and Bamma take care of them and accept them and bring them into the menagerie of animals.
I like that, the menagerie of animals. So I talked about the illustrations because to me that's such a big part of it. It's a big part of any book, but especially for a children's book. And on the cover, picture this, everybody. And if you go to Amazon, because of course you're going to want to get it for your kids or your grandkids, it says an adventure awaits, and you see this hole, and then you see the rabbit looking in, and you see the pink giraffe, especially because you mentioned the pink giraffe. So I looked up who the illustrator was, and it says it on the front. It's Adam Musk. How important is that to get that right? And who is Adam Musk?
Well, when I wrote this book, I thought when I need an illustrator, and I wasn't quite sure who to get. My son had worked with him, and so he'd done a couple of designs for my son. So he gave me his name, and I contacted him. He said sure, and he's been excellent. The first time we met in person was at a book signing after the first book was written. So we just communicated over the phone, emails, text, and things like that. He's an excellent illustrator. He's working right now on the third book, and so I just really enjoy him and what he brings into it. And I knew what I had in mind, and I just kind of left it up to him and what he came with the illustrations and the detail that he has into it. The vividness of the characters is just magnificent.
Yeah, for you, when you get these books, because, there's people even listening to us right now that have thought about writing a book or, it's rattling around in my head. What's the most gratifying thing?
I think seeing people's reactions, because, I wrote it, I thought, yeah, it's an okay book, and then when you start showing it to, some of the teachers, my coworkers I taught with, my family and that, when you showed it to them and got their feedback from it, it was great to see that it's like, oh, they like it too.
Yeah.
And then once the illustrations came into it, it was just fantastic. I can remember waiting when the book was going to come, and the first time I saw it in hardcover, and it was just like, wow, that's my name on it, Yeah. So, and like I say, I encourage anybody to, to go for it, to at least try it, and that's why I wanted to bring my granddaughters into it, to, show them that, hey, this is, do what you want to do. If this is something you want or whatever you want, go for it. And no matter what your age is, because here Grandma is, retired, haven't taught, and she did it. So you can do it too.
Yeah, there you go. Words of encouragement. So this is also important about the book and the books that you write. You told me a story about your husband, and luckily he got to spend time with your grandchild, but, because then more grandchildren came, etc.
Sure.
But he also had problems with his kidneys, and as a result, tell us the story, and as a result, profits from the book, and where do they go?
Okay. Well, my husband in 2008 ended up where his kidneys were knocked out just, real quickly. It was a total surprise to us. And he ended up on dialysis for 2 years. And then in 2010, he was put on the kidney transplant list, and I was checked, and I was going to be able to be a donor. So in March of 2010, the transplant took place, and he had another almost 6 years where he did not have to be hooked up to a machine to have to do dialysis. He went for dialysis, and then eventually he was on home dialysis. But he really enjoyed being around his grandchildren and having them come, and also be able to go and babysit. That was his, they were the apple of his eye, I should say. And so because of this, kidney transplantation is very close to me. And so I have decided to give a portion of my profits to the Kidney Foundation. So
yeah. As a result of that, so how interesting is that, and how heartwarming, really, I have to say. So for anybody who gets the book, obviously a piece of it goes there to the Kidney Foundation, and other people certainly struggle with that. But also how great that you were able to do that. I mean, going through that process and being able to help, arguably the person closest to you, that had to be some experience, huh?
It was. I joked with him. I said, "What did you do? Run DNA on me before you proposed?" But little did we know at that time anything would have come about. So you just never know. That's why I say live each day to the fullest and don't hold grudges.
Yeah, there you go. Don't hold grudges. Absolutely. Well, it's been such a delight talking to you. And again, you can pick up this book on Amazon, of course. An Adventure Awaits. This is just one in a series, really, from Kathleen Geiger as she continues to write these books. Thanks for joining us. And I'm going to keep guessing as to what that animal is, that pesky animal. Okay? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me.
Snake in the grass.